Hey everybody, it's Muffin, and with one day left in the PvE for Set 8, I thought it would be a great time to share some of the things I have learned through playing probably about 150, maybe even 200 games during the PvE stage. It's been a lot this 3 weeks, and I think I've learned a decent amount throughout that time, and I thought I would share just a couple of tidbits that I've learned throughout the PvE. These are just going to be a couple of little tips and just general facts that I kind of like noticed and things that I wanted to share, and maybe you've heard a couple of these from other streamers, but I thought it would be cool to put them all in one big list so that it's just easy to find. A couple of these I think I haven't heard anyone really talk about, so I'm going to bring them up. But yeah, I'm really excited to share it, and if you're excited for Set 8 and you're maybe playing your first couple of games, maybe leave this video a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I'm going to be releasing guides. I'm also going to be releasing a full playlist of videos that's going from how to be brand new from TFT to get up to the Masters level, which is around where I am every set so far, but I am planning to do significantly better this set. Already in PvE, I'm fucking a million times better than I've ever been before. So I'm really excited for this set, and with that, let's get into the video. The first one I really wanted to talk about, it's pretty well known, you've probably heard it from a couple streamers, but this one, like, I feel like every TFT person who's ever played TFT needs to hear this, is IE and JG do not go together anymore. You only need one of them. They changed how critical strikes work in this set. It used to be that if you had IE and then you went past 100% critical strike chance, that increased your critical strike damage. Now, every ability, whether it's AD or AP, needs an IE or JG in order to crit, and the only difference is IE gives you a little bit more attack damage, and JG gives you a little bit more ability power. So you want to give JG to AP users and you want to give IE to AD users. They do not combo together anymore. It's just going to give you a little bit more critical strikes chance, and you would probably do better giving them a Hodge instead. And I think Hodge is like significantly better than IE JG. IE Hodge is great for AD, and JG Hodge is really great for AP. This is a small one, and I actually don't know if it's entirely proper, but this is how I have been playing. There's going to be a lot of rerolls this set, especially with hero augments, and since you don't find out your first augment until 2-1, I have not been doing the pre-level at stage 1-4, because especially if you come across a really great reroll option for like a gangplank or your supers, you really don't want to have invested into going past level 4 already, because then you're just not going to be able to reroll your 1 costs. So I just delay the pre-level a little bit. It's really not even necessary, since there's no, like, you don't need any 3 costs really that early for insane synergies. There's no mercenaries gangplank you can get underground at level 3, because it only requires a 1 and 2 costs in order to get in. And so I do not pre-level in stage 1 anymore at all. We might learn that this is not great gameplay, but honestly, one of the best openers in the game right now is just Ashe, Renekton, Yasuo, which is just a 2-1 cost and a 2 cost. So I don't think that there's that much value in leveling at 1-4, but we'll see as the set goes on. But early on, I think that it's not worth leveling at stage 1-4. My second thing is, I think a lot of units really focus on AP this set, and if not AP, then there's a lot of units that are also melee this set. And because of that, I think 2 of the most flexible items this set so far are JG and Titan's Resolve. And I think they're actually really great tempo items. So same with Shiv, but Shiv's a little bit less so, because here's a picture of every unit that can use JG. You don't need to count, it's 19 of them. And here's all the 21 units that can use Titan's Resolve. Compare this to the 8-ish units that really want Rageblade, and one of them's a 5 cost. And I can't really even tell if Zed wants it. I don't think he does, but he can use it if he wants to. And you just have infinite more flexibility if you play around these 2 items. And the cool thing is they even work together. So like JG Titan's Resolve Hodge is like my personal best in slot for Gangplank or Yasuo. I think it's a great setup for them. Then you have so many 3, 4, and 5 cost units that can use both of these items that you're never gonna not have someone who can use it. So Titan's Resolve, JG, and Hodge have been the items I really play around early game. I think they're infinitely flexible, and they're honestly like best in slot for a lot of units. My third thing is the AD tree really doesn't have that many attack speed units that really want like Rageblade. Yeah, you have Duelist, but they honestly have Rageblade built into their kit, and it frees up a lot of item slots to have Last Whisper on your board. In past sets, you really had to like negotiate whether or not you wanted like Last Whisper or Rageblade. Well, you don't need Rageblade anymore, so you just get Last Whisper. Because of this, I don't really build armor that much, and especially since most units are AP, I build a lot of my tank stats towards HP, shielding, MR, and disarm. So having a lot of your frontline being like a Sejuani, who's going to get like 4 seconds of stun, it might be 2 seconds, or like a Fiddlesticks, who's going to stun for a couple of seconds as well. And that's what I've really been focusing my frontlines around. I even ran like a 6 defender board with like a Poppy, and everything died so quickly that it was completely irrelevant. The only thing that was keeping me alive is that my Poppy would one-shot their carry, or I got an Urgot in there which stuns half the enemy team. So I really do focus my front lines and my defensive capabilities around those things, is shielding, HP, HP and stun, versus I don't really think investing too much into armor is that great. And going in with like tank stats, Rammus and Cho'Gath deal damage based off of their tank stats. And I think a lot of people are going to get baited into thinking that if we put a bunch of tank stats on these guys, they're going to do a whole bunch of damage and they're going to become giga carries. Unless they get insanely buffed, they just don't do enough damage. And the fact that you can only buff them by giving them more tank stats takes away from their ability to heal themselves. You can't give them like an AP item like Archangels, which is going to like make their like damage ramp up throughout the fight. And most of the time their cast is very lackluster and it doesn't hit that much. So I don't think these guys are ever carries. In fact, I wouldn't even really put them as tank carries either, because they don't have like tank ability built into their kit. They don't gain HP or shielding or anything like that. They just stun a little bit or do a little bit of damage. So I think you really should treat them as like makeshift units that like naturally have makeshift on them and happen to do a bit more damage. They're very utility. So I really wouldn't play around them being like a mega carry or anything like that. Number 5 is Bel'Veth. Is a very problematic unit in that it's an AD champion that kind of just jumps into the middle of the enemy pool, but does nothing to avoid aggro at all, and needs 3 items most of the time. You really want healing on her, you really want like Runeans and Deathblade, so she doesn't have a way to drop aggro. Maybe you can remove Runons with like Edge of Night, but she still even then doesn't do that much damage. And because of that, Bel'Veth is a carry that you really want to use in like a comp that has a lot of damage already spread out, something like an Asol, but also 3-star Bel'Veth is almost never worth investing in. She just dies. The amount of times I've either played 3-star Bel'Veth or seen someone play 3-star Bel'Veth and it did almost no damage, especially because its attack can be blocked by Oxforce. You can get stuck on Oxforce units and then get one shot by like a 3-star Ashe. For example, here's a 3-star Bel'Veth I was losing to until I put in a single Vel'Koz, and then they went 3rd. Bel'Veth is just insanely problematic. I would not invest that much into her. A 2-star Bel'Veth is fine, but if you have the money, I would rather like go level 9 and fit in like a Fiddlesticks for more disarm. In fact, because of the existence of Oxforce, I really wouldn't invest too much into 3-star forecast units almost at all. It's almost always better to go level 9 and get another unit in your board. Oxforce, if you don't know, the Oxforce unit, when it's about to die, it gets to just stay alive for another 1 second, but it doesn't drop aggro. So a lot of like your ults are just going to be completely wasted on the unit that's being targeted. Normally it's like an Annie or an Alistar. So instead of like wasting your Samira 3's ult on an Annie that's not going to die, it's almost always better to have like a Leona that's going to walk around and zap someone for all of their HP and true damage. There are a couple of exceptions to this. Units that I really like 3-starring are Misfortune, Soraka, Talia, and Sejuani. The main reasons behind it is Sejuani 3 does insane disarm. It's like 10 seconds to the entire enemy team, and then Talia just skips all of the units. Like Annie with Oxforce is not going to block a Talia ult, it's just going to go straight through her. And so it's not like a Samira where like the entire ult can get like pretty much blocked by the one unit, or even like Misfortune, like if Annie's like real close, can block like the entire ult. The only reason I put Misfortune on this list is because Misfortune is stupid. Misfortune is the most broken champion in this set, partially because she's an ace, but because she also has like spread shot. Like she just like basically goes, okay, I'm gonna look at the entire field, and if anyone is below 12% health, they're dead. Now they're just instantly dead. It doesn't matter how much damage I do, they're dead. And then obviously if you build her up, she can then do more damage, and she can kind of be splashed into almost any comp. And then also if you are able to go level 9 and get 4 ace in, it's 30% damage. Then you also have 3 other units on the board that do the exact same thing. So like Mordekaiser or Samira or Draven, they all have the exact same issue. Just a little bit less so because Misfortune spreads out over the entire board, and it's insane. That and she's Anima Squad, which gives her innate AP, which is very nice. But basically, for a fun fact, Misfortune can be put in even with no items, just for the fact that she executes units underneath 12% HP. This is one I've seen a lot of people talking about, frontline versus backline Fiddlesticks. Something that's worth noting is a Fiddlesticks 1 and 2-star does not do that much damage. He attacks so many units that if he did a lot of damage, he would be insanely broken, but he does so little damage that for the most part, if he is backlined and he's like getting that AP from like all his Zentine dying or whatever, right? Like, yeah, he's maybe going to do double the damage, but he's either going to do one of two things. He's going to either attack a team that is so almost dead that if you just had another unit in already, then you would have won and you wouldn't need Fiddlesticks in the first place. Or 2, you're going to attack one unit that has so much health that it doesn't matter that Fiddlesticks is like stacked up, because Fiddlesticks is not going to 1v1 like a mech. it's not going to happen. And at that point, his disarm doesn't matter because your entire team's dead. So I like frontline Fiddlesticks above anything else because he gives you an instant disarm pretty much if he's targeted first. Plus, it gives the chance that he's going to multicast. So if he casts twice, then he really is going to do a lot of damage. He does heal a bit off of his cast, and then also gives you a little bit of a ZZ rot in the case that he doesn't cast twice. And so once the first person in your front line gets targeted and they die, then they're going to turn around and attack Fiddlesticks, and Fiddlesticks is going to die. And that's going to keep your front line or maybe melee carries a little bit more survivable. So I like frontline Fiddlestick. I mean, I think it's insanely better than backline Fiddlesticks. He just doesn't do that much damage. So something that is important is in Fiddlestick's cast animation, he does drop aggro unless it is Leona's Space Laser. So if you're playing him and it's like everyone's level 8 and probably has a Leona on the board, you do want to position him so he's not being targeted by Leona, because he will just instantly die. He'll like survive like a couple seconds past the Space Laser, a little bit longer than most other units, but he is still just going to die and you're going to lose a lot of his utility. Another unit that's almost infinitely splashable, well, all of the threat units are infinitely splashable, but one of the main ones is Urgot. He's insanely good. He does a half board CC, and he even brings every enemy unit like 1 hex forward in their from their version of the board, and he can give you like econ, and a 2-star Urgot can give you item components. Yeah, Urgot is insane. The best positioning for him is in the 3rd row, 3 in from either side, and this will allow him to cast everyone on that side of the board, including backline carries. So yeah, hex 3-3 or 3-5. And the last couple of things I wanted to talk about have to do with traits. These are just like some little finicky things that maybe you didn't know about traits. Anima Squad gains stacks of fame every time you kill an enemy champion. It used to work on PvE minions, but it no longer does. They removed it during the PvE. However, admin stacks, if you get any of the permanent traits from admin, they do seem to permanently stack off of PvE rounds. So if you have any of like every time an enemy dies, you gain like 12 HP permanently. That does still work during PvE. This might change, they might nerf it, but admin's already not been so OP that I think that they are probably going to keep it the same, or at least no one's really addressed it as a problem. So I think that that's kind of funny. And the last one I actually just found out before recording this video, and that is mech. Normally the way mech works is if you have 3 mechs in and you choose like a mech champion, the 2 closest mech units to them will be sucked up. They'll gain 100% of their HP, and then like I think it's 60 AP and AD. That is how it works. However, if you say have a duplicate of a champion in, such as like Jax, if you have 2 Jax in, it doesn't count as another mech for the trait, but a Jax can suck up another Jax for the HP. So you can have Jax, Wukong, Leona and suck up the Jax and the Wukong and still keep Jax, Leona. And I thought that was really interesting. Normally in the past, a lot of traits have just completely ignored duplicates. So I thought this was kind of interesting. Like Nico was a nightmare in set 7. But I thought this was kind of interesting that you can do that. But yeah, that's a couple of things that I learned through the PvE that people have asked me about either during my stream or just like that I see be asked during other people's streams. So and I thought that I would share them here with you. But I'm going to go back to making more videos for the launch of Monsters Attack. So thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I've been Muffin the Gamer, and if you like this video or it helps you at all learning more about TFT, consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you guys again next time. Peace.